my interview now with Anne Hegerty, me, Jack Edwards, on Wrexham Premier Radio. So, Anne, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Great to be talking to you. Now, obviously, we know you as being the governess on the Chase, but how and why did you get into quizzing in the first place?
Well, I was on Mastermind about, years ago. November 87, I recorded it. And I wasn't much good. But I discovered that there was a group of people called the Mastermind Club that you could join. So I joined that, and that was really the only contact I had with quizzing for the next 20 years, pretty much. And then, almost accidentally, in early 2009, via the Mastermind Club, I met someone who told me that there's actually a high-level quizzing circuit in the UK. So I went along to one of their quizzes and got interested in that. And also, at that quiz, I auditioned for the second series of Are You an Egghead?, which was to find a new egghead for what was then the BBC show, Eggheads.
Oh, yeah.
And I recently been reminded that my eventual colleague, Paul Sinner, actually auditioned at the very same place and also got on. Neither of us actually became an egghead, obviously. I came third that year. But it sort of put me on the map. And by the time that was about the time that they filmed the first little pilot series of the Chase.
And was this around 2008, would you say?
Sorry?
Was this around 2008?
No, this is around 2009.
Right.
This is sort of April, May, June 2009. The thing is that it turns out the quizzing community is quite small and incestuous. And people knew how I'd done on Are You an Egghead? And they knew that there was this show being made called The Chase, which had just filmed its pilot series without a female chaser because they hadn't been able to find one. And people started talking about me as a potential chaser. So by the time it was definitely confirmed that it was going to a series 2, which was that autumn, I was in a position to actually, get an email address and fire off an email to the producer. That seems to have done the trick.
Nice. So
she was interviewed about a year ago, and she said, we've seen lots of good female quizzers, but what we realised about Anne right from the start was that she was hardcore. So I quite like the idea that I'm hardcore.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. So going back to Mastermind, obviously when you're on there you have a specialist subject. Do you remember what yours was?
Yes, it was my first. I've actually done it twice. The first time it was the life and career of Lawrence Hart, who was a songwriter. Who perhaps don't remember him so much these days, but he did write some quite famous songs. The Lady is a Tramp, My Funny Valentine, various things that you may or may not have heard of.
And what was the subject the second time round when you went on?
The second time round it was Life and Career of Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, nice.
He's a specialist subject of mine.
Yeah. So would you say, did you win on either of them shows when you were on it?
No, the first time I lost by literally about 1 point, I think.
Oh.
But I didn't. I was just relieved I hadn't made an idiot of myself.
Yeah.
And then the second time, I did make a bit of an idiot of myself and came last. Which was embarrassing, but fortunately everyone's forgotten about that now. So let us never speak of it again.
And I suppose, you were glad to, just be on the show, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd always thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to go on Mastermind? And I couldn't really think of a specialist subject. But the thing is, I'm autistic, which I didn't know at the time. And when you're autistic, you tend to develop these, what are called perseverations. They get, you find yourself suddenly getting obsessed with something, and you need to know all about it. People with autism or Asperger's syndrome, they're famous for sort of knowing everything about trains and things like that. I tend to get perseverations. My perseverations are more sort of pop culture and, TV and music and things like that. I'd recently just become fascinated by the work of Lawrence Hart, And I thought to myself, you know what, actually, I've got a specialist subject now. I mean, I've studied him in so much detail. I've got so many books about him and so much music. I think actually I have a specialist subject here.
Yeah, well, going back to obviously autism, I mean, there's a few of my friends who have autism, and I see with them that, they might be, fascinated, perhaps a little bit obsessed with a certain subject. Yeah. But I suppose with a show like Mastermind, obviously it's going to help you with, getting whatever the questions are.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's fast forward now to what you're probably best known for, being the Governess on The Chase. It is one of ITV's biggest shows now. It's on, well, it feels like it's on every hour of the day. But, yeah, I see when you... It's fine. I'm flicking through the channels and I'm on, let's say, I don't know, Challenge TV. Challenge TV's always showing it.
Oh, yeah, I mean, people have joked that it really needs to change its name to Chase TV.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah. So, obviously, it's been a key part of your life for a decade, but what does the show mean to you?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's absolutely upended everything. I did a podcast a few months ago where you had to pick 5 things to go into a time capsule. Things that you wanted to preserve, and The Chase was one of mine because it has just been so absolutely huge in my life. It really is, it's the ideal job for me. It means, I have colleagues. I've never been the only chaser, which actually is kind of nice because it is kind of useful to have other people to bounce things off. And when you're having a bad day, it's useful to have someone else that you can grumble to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed everything financially, but also it's just people who remember me from before say it's given me so much more confidence that I'm sort of, playing the role of this incredibly confident person who just knows that she's better than everyone else. And that's not really necessarily me, but I can sort of channel her when necessary.
Yeah.
So it's just, and honestly, I do like being famous. It's rather fun being famous.
So obviously you've said there, you're not the only chaser. There's obviously Sean, Mark, Paul, Dara, Jenny. So is there, and obviously the presenter, Bradley Walsh. So is there, let's say a friendly rivalry between you when you're quizzing? I'm guessing you go out to quiz nights together?
Well, Mark, who used to be a maths teacher, keeps the statistics, and we like to see the statistics, because obviously nobody wants to feel that they're the worst chaser. But the thing is, if somebody is having a bad time, then everybody else is very supportive towards them, because we know, we could be going through a bad patch. I mean, we've been filming over the last few weeks, and we have had quite a few losses. More losses than we quite often do have, which is good because obviously we're winning far too much. But obviously we don't really like, suddenly realising we're up against this really good team and they've scored over 20 and we're like, oh no, this is my day, isn't it? You have somebody else to complain to and say, okay, I have no one to blame but myself for the fact that I didn't win, but all the same I'm really grumpy about it. So it is nice just to be able to say, I hate that I'm getting the good teams, even though I know it's good for the show.
Yeah. So even though obviously you're losing, are you, let's say when a good contestant comes on, are you happy, if they walk away with a decent amount of money?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I don't quite know how to put this. We always want to win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously it would be stupendously boring if we won every match.
Yeah.
Which is why, we give them a head start in the head-to-head. They start an average 3 paces down the board, and then we give them a head start in the final chase. They start with the number of steps ahead. We do, if we like to play a really good player. The problem is we very often can't play the good players because we can't play somebody we know, and the trouble is we tend to know an awful lot of really good players. So actually it's really nice when the contestant team have managed to put together a really strong team of good quizzers who actually work well together. And we're sort of going, yeah, actually, that's a decent cash builder. And that was a decent head-to-head. And you actually, you do quite admire, you don't really want to feel, oh no, we're just going to knock these people over like 9 pins. You want to feel it's a real game.
Yeah, it's like, a battle between you. And I think that's what's made it, so successful. Yeah. Obviously, The Trace, it's become a station nationwide, and 3 years ago, back in 2020, it led to the spin-off of Beat the Chasers. Now, I do prefer it to the daytime, I've got to be honest with you now. But obviously...
People do say that.
Yeah. So...
We're filming again in May.
Oh, are you?
I don't know when it will be shown.
Right.
But that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a break.
I couldn't actually do the last series because I had COVID.
Oh, I remember. Wasn't it one of the Australian Chasers?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is about him, he's the only one he was actually born in Cornwall.
Right.
So he doesn't need a visa to come over. So they basically phoned him at midnight his time and said, can you be on our plane in the morning? And, I mean, they put it off as late as they possibly could. But when I found out they were doing it, I was like, yes, what a good idea. That's a really tremendous idea. And, because I'm very good mates with the Australian Chasers. And Issa, I just feel, is someone who needs more opportunities. On the other hand, before we film this series in May, I'm going to spend about 2 weeks pretty much putting myself in purdah. I'm not going to go anywhere. If I do, I'm going to wear a mask. Because I don't want to miss 2 in a row.
No, so you're definitely, fingers crossed, going to be on the next series of Beat the Chasers then?
Unless I manage to get COVID again or get knocked down by a bus or something, absolutely I intend.
Well, fingers crossed, neither of them are going to happen.
Yeah.
So, obviously, it's a bit of a different game, Beat the Chasers. You're all there in a row. You're all, let's say, working together. What's it like? Because obviously sometimes it can lead to, some quite tense moments when you're watching.
Yeah, it's quite a different format, and it does give the contestants more of a chance than the main show does, which, is good in itself. My disadvantage on Beat the Chasers is I am not fast on the buzzer. I mean, I'm faster than almost anyone in the UK on a quiz buzzer, but I am not faster than the other chasers.
Right.
So you will find that Beat the Chasers tends to be dominated by a combination of Paul and Mark.
Right.
And you will, when it goes out, there will be someone tweeting, is Anne's buzzer broken? And the answer will be, no, it's not broken. I keep on trying to get to the buzzer and they keep beating me.
Yeah. So, obviously, linking to that, how do you find, let's say, the social media reaction to when you're on The Trace or Beat the Chasers or any other show?
I'm very much in favour of people being allowed to say, what they want to say. And if people are being upsettingly rude, then the solution is for me to stay off social media.
Yeah.
Not to, there are some people, not chasers, but some people who get terribly cross if anyone is rude about them on social media. Oh my goodness, this is so bad for my mental health. And I'm like, really, we should, I'm up there being rude to people. I think it's entirely legitimate people should be rude about me on Twitter. I really don't mind. I mind if they actually say stuff that's not true.
Yeah.
And there are people who say, of course the chasers have a secret auto cue that's giving them the answer, or that's giving them extra information on the answer. And I promise you, there really isn't. We all particularly hated when there are accusations that we cheat, or that we get fed the answers. And as I've said before, if they were going to do that, they'd get 6 better-looking people, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Don't agree that quickly.
So, I suppose as long as nobody crosses a line and is, nasty, let's say, harming you, I think, it's okay.
I mean, I don't mind them being nasty. If they're actually accusing us of something we're not doing, then, I will say, no, we don't cheat. No, we are not fed the answers. No, we do not have secret earpieces in that you can't see. But even so, I'll simply go on Twitter and say, no, that isn't true. But I won't sort of actually set the lawyers on them.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah. And obviously, I think you've made the most of it with your TV career. You've done so many things. And one of my favourite projects of yours was Britain's Brightest Family.
Oh, did you like that?
I watched, I must have watched every episode of that.
Oh, fantastic.
I watched it, I remember watching it with my mum, and I loved it because all the questions I remember just getting straight away. Yeah, so...
I think they were designed to be the sort of things that we knew the kids were being taught in school.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's to showcase the kids and make them look good.
And it's like the visuals of it. I'd say that I'm more of a visual person when I'm looking at something, and obviously there was a lot of, visual questions with it and everything, and I thought, I think one of them was like, oh yeah, can you pick out the colour that's written in a different colour to what the colour states, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one, and I remember getting that one straight away. So, do you prefer asking the questions or answering them?
I did enjoy having my own show. It was nice to be able to say, this is my show.
Yeah.
And it was nice that everything was sort of on my timetable. I would say, well, when do I need to go down to the studio? Oh, well, whenever you feel like it. Really? I used to be chilling and saying, get down to the studio now. So that was very nice. At the same time, I mean, nothing compares to the chase.
No.
So I would rather, if one of them had to get canned, then it was better that it was Britain's Brightest Family. We had 2 series of the Civilian Show and 2 series of the Celeb Show, and I think that was a decent run. Yeah,
it was a good show. But obviously, something else which you've done fairly recently now, maybe about 4 years ago, was your appearance on I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah.
What was it like going out of your comfort of quizzing and answering questions and into the jungle?
It was absolutely horrible. I think I just simply hadn't quite... I've always said nothing happened that I should not have expected.
Yeah.
But I somehow hadn't quite made it real to myself. The culture shock was quite massive when I first went in to the jungle. And I just spent the first night thinking, I can't possibly do this. What on earth have I signed up for? I can't do this. And I spent several days trying to get out of it. And they were like, well, okay, look, talk to your campmates, talk to Medic Bob, just take it hour by hour. And I did sort of calm down. I was sort of in shock for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then I gradually, things began to feel better, especially when we went into main camp. And I don't know if you remember, Nick Knowles had a luxury item from home, which was a pillow. And he gave it to me.
Oh, that's kind.
Which was just utterly adorable of him. I mean, it just sort of made me feel really cared about. And the actual pillow was absolutely brilliant. I mean, if I ever had to give anyone advice now, I would say, choose a pillow as your luxury item, because it is. I had been sleeping badly, partly because I couldn't get my head comfortable.
Oh.
So it was just absolutely brilliant to have that.
It's nice to know that there is, kind people out there. Nick, when I watch him on, let's say, DIYSOS, he does come across as a decent bloke.
He really is. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to be just supremely lucky that I was in the jungle with extraordinarily nice people. Just very kind people. And there isn't a single one of them that I wouldn't be perfectly happy to see again. They were absolutely lovely.
I mean, I always watch The Jungle or The Castle as it has been for a few years when it's on, and I think, looking back on that series that you were in, I think if I was to pick any year to go on the show, it would have been the year you were on.
Yes. Well, it still remains the case it's the highest ratings ever that year.
Yeah, it probably was the best series so far. Yeah. So, what's next for you? Have you got any upcoming TV shows? You said that you're filming more of The Chase. What else is coming up for you?
We've just finished, literally just today, I think, probably as we speak, we are going into the final show until September. We're about to have a 6-month break.
Right.
So we've put, nearly 100 shows in the can since January, I think. And it's fairly quiet ahead. I am hoping that I will get out to Australia again, because, I do The Chase Australia.
Oh, yes.
And I'm hoping that might happen perhaps end of June.
Right.
So looking forward to that. Much further on, I've signed a contract to do Panto this year, which is going to be Chesterfield in Derbyshire.
Nice.
So yeah, I do Panto every year.
What do you like about doing Panto?
I do. It pays nicely, and it's a chance to act and sing and be funny, and just do stuff that isn't the chase. Yeah,
and obviously getting out there, seeing the people that watch you every day.
Yes, absolutely. And already there have been people on Facebook or Twitter responding to the announcement saying, "Oh, well, now we'll come and see it." It's got Anne in it. So that's nice.
Yeah, nice to hear that. Now, one final question for you, Anne. It's a very important one. what is, in your opinion, the best British games show of all time?
I'd love to say the Chase. I mean, I'm sure it really is the Chase. If I was trying to be really objective, I mean, probably the one that I like to watch more than any is probably University Challenge.
Right.
Because it's just a load of, really solid academic questions. And Jeremy Paxman looking out down his nose at people.
Yeah, very formidable.
But I mean, there are a lot. There are a lot of good ones. I remember meeting Alexander Armstrong once. I said to him, look, I know that we're rivals, we're on at the same time, but I want you to know I actually really like Pointless. I think it's a really good show.
Yeah.
And he said to me that he doesn't like watching himself on TV, so when Pointless is on, he switches over and watches The Chase. so that's nice to know.
Yeah, Pointless is a good show, but The Chase, we'll say it's a bit better, shall we say?
Yeah, I like to think so. And we've just been nominated for another BAFTA.
Oh, congratulations.
Last year,
well done.
For daytime, so I hope we can do the double this year. That's going to be in May. In fact, it's sort of like right in the middle of when we're filming Beat the Chasers.
Yeah, so fingers crossed you'll win that. I'll go on the website and I'll vote for you.
Oh, excellent. I'm not sure if it is one of those ones.
Oh, isn't it?
That can vote for it. Might not be.
Well, whenever the next one that the public can vote for, I'll vote for you.
The NTAs is definitely one that the public vote for, which is why we win it a lot. So
Oh, so great. Anne Hegerty, the Governess, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah. There we go then, my interview with Anne Hegerty, the Governess from The Chase. My thanks to Anne, and you can watch The Chase every day on ITV1 and ITV.